Hello, welcome back to another episode of Adventures with Rhonda. I'm so glad you're here to join me, and I want to talk about finances. The last time we talked about dating for marriage and making sure we have the right mindset and understand that person and know what we are getting ourselves into. And so now we need to figure out those finances. Those finances play a big part in marriage. And if you haven't had that talk about finances yet, it's the perfect time because you need to have that together. So the first thing, we're getting right into this video and we're talking about making a budget and sitting down with that person and saying, here's what I have. This is what I'm bringing to the table. Know what your income is and know what you are paying out, because all those things are going to be very important to find out who's going to be paying what when you're married and who's going to be responsible for being that person who pays the bills so that it gets done. So when you're sitting with your spouse, let's not have a talk once they're getting off of work and they're tired and they're grouchy and they're just, now when I say grouchy, they're just having a hard time, because sometimes you need time to come home and decompress and forget about what happened that day. So pick a time to talk about money when it's best for both of you, because that person may not be a money person in the beginning. They may not want to even talk about money. It may be something that causes them great stress and grief to hear, but you have to have those talks to be able to be financially free. If you need to play this video while you're having that conversation, sit down. Yeah, I can be the one to say, guess what? Y'all need to have this talk, because the money is looking funny and we got to figure this out. Because guess what? You have to start those conversations, because if you don't want to be solving these problems in divorce court. You don't want to be solving these problems when you're bankrupt. You don't want to be trying to figure out what to do at that point, because we're trying to reach you before it gets too late. And how you can do that is sit down with that spouse and look at their finances. Bring two notebooks, one for you and one for him. And guess what? You need to sit down and look at what you pay and what you bring in. And after you write yours down and they write theirs down, you both need to look at it together. Because guess what? When you're married, you become one financially as well, because your debt is their debt. Their debt is your debt. So you want to make sure you're able to financially prepare for these potential problems, because everybody may not have the same credit score. They may not be on the same money level. Their income may be higher, yours may be lower, or vice versa, but you still need to know what you bring to the table, how you can contribute, and how we can fix this money problem. And so after you take a look at what you bring to the table, take a look at both of yours and together and say, okay, is there a problem here? Am I in the red? Am I not able to pay for all these bills that I have? Or are you doing great? How are you doing such a great job? What are some things I can learn from you? Because you're a team, you're working together, you're on the same ship. And you don't want that ship to go down because you're on that same boat too. So when we're looking at those finances, look at what can be fixed. Highlight the bills that you can say, I may not have to use that. I may not need that. I may can take that bill off because it's not a necessity. It's not required for me to survive. So when you're making that money decision, you got to look at the tough choices and what you can work with until you can do better. And if that person is making more money and they can pay a different bill because their income is larger. So it may not make sense for your income that's smaller to take care of the mortgage when their income is larger to pay that debt, because it needs to be paid on time and it needs to be paid with consistency. So you need to make sure the money is there to cover it, because you don't want to be in the poorhouse, have more house than money. So make sure you're evaluating or renting a place that you can afford. So make sure you're looking at this as a unit. And see, the money talks happen before you get married. So all of this stress of all this has already been taken care of. You already know what you can do and what you can't do financially. But if you have already made that decision to be committed and married, then guess what? That talk needs to take place if you have not done so. And so as you're looking at the money and you're seeing who can pay what, make sure there's a balance. Because just because you can't afford to pay the mortgage or the rent doesn't mean you don't have to pay anything, because you also have the power bill, you have also the gas. It all depends on what you do for your trash pickups and things like that. All of these things come into play are necessities. And so, yes, you may not be able to feasibly pay the mortgage, but you can pay other necessities to bring that family unit together. So when you're looking at your money and the other person's money, You should be thinking, here's what our money looks like. It's no longer your money, my money, it's our money. And you're looking at it as a couple and you're saying, okay, this is what we have. This is what we are giving out. This is what we're paying. How can we fix it? Is there anything that we can change in our budget that we don't really have to have? Because once you start breaking down your necessities over your wants, it makes it a little easier to determine where you want to put that money. And make sure you have an emergency fund saved up, because 2020 has taught everybody, if they didn't know, life can take us on adventures we don't want to go. Yes, so we want to make sure that we can plan ahead, have an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months money. Look at how much it takes to pay your house as a whole, pay your rent, to pay for your utilities, insurance, cars, all of these things. I'll look at all your budget together and say, okay, we may not have so much extra right now, but we can pay $5 and start putting it in a savings account. We can start paying down this debt. We may have to put $2 on it this month, but we're going to pay something on it. So we get building that mindset of, okay, prioritizing what can we work with, what can we live with, what can we live without, and making that money work for you until you get to a place where the tightness of that money is no longer an issue. Because guess what? You have wiggle room if something were to come up. You have money set aside for each of you to have some spending money. So you don't have to call them when you need to buy a stick of gum and say, can we afford for me to get this? Can I get it? Can I do this? Because you can have money set aside for you to spend comfortably. And it may be $20 that you each get, but it's something where you can say, hey, that's something I could use to buy something I don't have to call you for, to pay, to pay for something that small. Until you're able to build up higher amounts of money and to have more, feasible spending money. But you don't want to be spending money that you don't have to get things that you don't need. So we prioritize, so we know that we have an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months money at least to save up for if there's for an emergency. So when something pops up and a job loss or something happens, or you just are tired of where you are and you want to start fresh and do something else, you have money to say, okay, I can give that a try for a month, but then I got to find something else. You want to make sure your finances can handle your vision for your family, your goals, because you want to make sure you can be able to afford if you want to start having a family. How much is going to cost you to have a delivery? How much will it be if there's complications? How much will it cost me to pay for food, diapers, and pay for childcare if necessary? All of these things come into play. And so if you have your money helping you, then it takes the stress out of the things that you want to do. So money talks matter, and pick times that work best for both of you. And be honest, sit down and be real and say, you may not have the best experience with money, you may not have a good experience with money, but we're going to fix it. We're in this together. We're going to change the outlook of our family. Yeah, we may not have grown up with much, but we're going to change it for our future. We're going to change it for the possibility of having children. We're going to make the right changes, because we can be better than what our circumstances were. You can save money. You can put money aside. That small $5 here or that dollar there is going to add up. And so be mindful that the small steps can get you to the great leaps where you are going to have money for your 401k to max it out, where you're going to have money for your retirement, you're going to have stock options. All of these things are to better your family and to better you, because that will help you be able to rest when you know you have finances that are working for you, and not going to bed in fear of not being able to pay the rent or pay the mortgage the next day or the monthly bills that you are responsible for. Training your money is the best thing you can do for just the sanity of your mind when it comes to worrying about life's problems. Because once you plan for it, once you prepare for it, you're better for it. And if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel, and I hope that this has made an impact on your life, and that it has changed something that you're doing and will change your family's dynamic to get you guys back on track, or to just give you encouragement to keep on going. And if you would, please subscribe to my channel and let me know. Leave a note in the comments there. I want to know who's watching. I want to know who am I affecting? Who am I talking to? Thanks again, and see you in the next one.